Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Collingwood Connection. I'm Will, as you know by now, and I'm joined by the Fossil down in Paston Lakes. How you going, Fossil?
Yeah, good, thanks, Will. Yeah, a bit chilly down here today, Will. She's blowing the milk out of your coffee at the moment. It's cold and windy, but it's good to see that we've got another weekend of football and the Pies are back in action. So can't wait for tomorrow night. So hopefully they can account themselves fairly well. So we'll go through the teams and everything later on. But yeah, so it's good to be back, and hopefully the Pies can do the right thing by us.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'll be tomorrow night on Friday, March 27. The Pies and Giants meet at Marvel Stadium, 7:40 under the lid. I think the roof will be shut at this point, Fossil. Maybe if it's a bit chilly, they'll have to close it up for the fans. And yeah, you wouldn't want to be running around in 10 degrees. The players probably won't mind more than the fans, but yeah, it should be a interesting contest. Not sure if we have played the Giants there or if we have very rarely. So that'll be very interesting. But you know where I want to start off this week, Fossil, other than those ridiculous buys where we've had a break after a couple of games. I'm hoping that's changed as of 2027. But I just want to say, how quickly do the media jump on and off teams per weekend's results? I know that's what they do. They jump on a headline. They want to be the first to do it. But I swear, unless you're the Brisbane Lions, it's purely based on those wins and losses each week. Geelong got smashed in round zero, and then some wrote off their season, and then the next week it come from behind win against Freo, and they're contenders again. So anyway, a couple of weeks off, and yeah, our Pies find themselves, ready to get back on the winners list hopefully tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, that's right. Well, yeah, things can change fairly quickly. Even like last year, we got smashed in the first game, too old, and then we ended up, where we did. So, yeah, it can change from week to week. And I think, the way the season is, I think if you can get sort of 5 or 6 in a row, it's a big plus for you because, every game's going to be tough. But yeah, we'll see how we go, eh?
Yeah, well, the way the competition is, the AFL should be laughing. It's getting a bit more even. West Coast had their first win in a while, and Essendon, they're probably the only ones that haven't had a win in a long time at the moment. So I don't really mind that. Not a big fan of the Bombers, but anyway, we'll jump into the game, Fossils. So the opposition tomorrow night, the GWS Giants, they're currently 13th with a 1-2 record. Defeated the Hawks in opening round before back-to-back losses. They were smashed by the Bulldogs at Marvel Stadium a couple of weeks ago, and then a narrow 4-point loss to the Saints at NG Stadium. They stormed home in the fourth quarter, but couldn't quite get there. But I do want to say, beware the wounded Giants. It seems like they just replaced soldiers with a soldier. And they're always pretty hard to beat. Collingwood haven't found it easy in recent times. Only a couple of games we've got away from them. But they are missing, in saying all that, they are missing a few decent players at the moment. They decided against bringing in Cadman, Bedford, and Daniels. They were all a chance to play, but obviously didn't want to take the risk. The two changes for them are Buckley and Rouston out, with Leake and Hannaford their replacements, a couple of young fellas there. They're also notably without Tom Green, Darcy Jones, Josh Kelly, and Sam Taylor. So they are a weakened side. So I'm getting more confident. I think that as the weeks come on and we've got a bit closer, I think the Pies should get the job done. And saying that, we can't get too far ahead of ourselves, Fossil, but I think I'm getting a bit more confident that the Pies will get the job done under the lid. And yeah, the changes came through for the Pies earlier tonight, Fossil.
Yeah, out with Parker, Allen, and Buller. He's gone back to learn his trade, and in comes Moore, Howe, and Steen for his first game, Williams, which is very good. I think we've been calling for him for a while. It's taken a while, but hopefully the big fella can step up and have a good game in his first game. And I think, the way Collingwood set up in their forward line, William, like they might even shoot him down there at some stage, depending how much stay in memory fire up. But that's been our problem. Like we get the ball in there and they've been getting in each other's ways, and we've had no return from the big fellas. And when they have marked the ball they've been too far up the ground. So hopefully they can settle things down. And that last kick into 50 is so important, Will, because just looking at the Giants, like they've got three tools down back and then the two tools up forward. It looks like they've gone for a fair bit of pace. And as we know, Etihad is a fairly quick ground. So that's why we've got to use the ball when we get the ball, move it quickly, but we've got to make sure we hit our targets, especially that last one coming in 50, because you can't expect the little blokes, to kick you a winning score all the time. So we need something out of the Membry, McStay, and if Steen goes down there or Cameron goes down there, so we can get a couple of big marks in the square, because there's no point just bombing it in, because their back line will just sit back and mark the ball or punch the ball, and then away they go. So yeah, they really got to be on the ball. It's not going to be easy, like you said. They've got some good players out, William, but they've got good players coming in. And the forward line's going to be very interesting. They've got Riccardi at 198, so I don't know whether Moore or Frampton, depending on how Hogan goes, they can play on either. I think with Stringer, I think Quinard would probably, I know he's given away a few centimetres, but he's got a good jump and maybe he might be able to run off him because Jakey doesn't like chasing too much, William. So I think that'd be a good matchup. And I think Maynard on Green when he goes forward. I see they named him on the pill, so he might go into the middle. And I think Howe can take Brzezinski. He's 192, so I think Jeremy Howe could probably take him. So they'd be the matchups I'll be going with in the back line. And then, like I said, we just got to use the ball well, get their running patterns right, make sure they're not crashing into one another and knocking each other over. And then hopefully, it'll be enough for us to win the game.
Yeah, well, you'd expect us to be a bit more organised, the likes of Darcy Moore and Jeremy Howe. So a few of those senior heads get back, and it's great to see Oscar Steen finally get his opportunity. We spoke about in earlier episodes, he was hopefully going to debut last season. I think against West Coast, Richmond, they could have really pulled the trigger. But anyway, hopefully the wait's worth it, and I'm really excited. He's a big boy, he's a big body, and he likes to jump at the footy fossil. So that'll warm the hearts of many Collingwood supporters and players, and hopefully he can bring down a couple of big clunks. And hopefully, if he does get a goal on debut, that'd be nice as well. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no. Like you said, he's been waiting a while, Will. So all the best to young Steenie and his family, and I hope he has a good one first up for the Pies. But I think, like with Cameron, if he goes back behind the ball, but with Moore and Howe back, the back line looks fairly solid. It's just that this forward line's got to really start to function, Elliott and these blokes, Schultze and them, hopefully they can have good games. McQuarrie, the Dacos boys, because they look fairly quick. Well, I don't know a lot about their players, but they seem to have pretty two big guys down, three big guys down back, two up forward, and the rest seem to be fairly quick. So when we get the ball, we can't afford to turn it over, or else we might lack a bit of leg speed to catch them. But, if they have the Dacoses and McQuarrie, in the middle of the ground for a bit more pace if they need it. So they've got options, but just hopefully they can use the ball well and have a good game.
Yeah, exactly. That midfield battle is interesting. Kieran Briggs, the very big ruckman they've got. So bringing in Cameron and Cameron there and the support of Steen, I think will be very important. Kind of what Adelaide did to us with the two young ruckmen coming in and did a pretty decent job against Cameron. They broke even, which isn't easy to do. Our boy Cameron's a very solid ruckman, and like you said, he can go down back and help out the defenders. He can go up forward
Mm.
and get his chance to have a shot at goal or two. So he's very dangerous, and I think Steen's going to come in and really give him a chop out. The likes of Pendlebury, Long, and the Dacos boys, of course, and even De Goey, they're going to have their hands full. The very dangerous Toby Green and Finn Callahan. He's only 22, but in that same bracket as Nick Dacos, these future, if they're not already stars, future stars of the competition. And with the likes of Tom Green missing for the Giants is obviously a big loss, but we'd have our hands full with a few more of those players playing for them. And your mate, Clayton Oliver, you used to give him a lot of stick. He doesn't use the ball. I still don't think he uses it all that well, but he does get in there and get the contested possession. So the boys will have to, try and be first to the footy, feed it out, and let's get our running game going. Where last season for majority of the first two-thirds of the season just showed our elite kicking inside 50. Paddy Lipinski was very good at hitting targets, and I just think they just got to recapture that sort of motion of football, beating players on the lead, and they don't give the opposition enough time to flood their back line because I've noticed probably since halfway through last season, if they clog up the defense and don't give us any leads and we pop it on the head of our forwards who haven't been able to take marks, then they just sort of play that run and gunning game. And that suits GWS, like you pointed out. They've got a lot of small, but quick young players and even some of their more senior heads. And they get out the back door, it's going to be danger for our defenders, even though they've done a really good job, but we can't afford to just have the ball slingshotting from one end to another too quickly. So hopefully the boys can get on top of that, and when the Giants do have the ball, we can shut them down. So fingers crossed, it'll go a long way to the Pies getting the job done. So we'll see how that goes there, Fossil, and we'll move on to our predictions this week. I'll throw the first one over to you. The most disposals this week, Fossil, for a Collingwood
I
player.
think, yeah, the most disposals, Joshy Dacos, mate. He will absolutely burn on that ground, William. I
Right.
think he'll get the most disposals, and he's in magnificent form. So, yeah, like I said, if they match up, and maybe he might even go into the middle at some stage too. Will depending on how they're going, give him a bit more speed through the middle. So, no, I like the way he's playing. Well, he's playing really well. So I think Jock Dasos will be our leading disposal.
You got a magic number. You were one off last time we did this. So how many disposals?
Well, I'll go for 27, William.
Well,
Twenty-seven.
that's not a high possession game. It means they're going to be
Yeah,
pretty
no,
evenly spread.
well, that's what we want. We want a good team effort. So, all right, no, 27. I'll do 27, and
Well, my boy's going to trump him. I reckon Jack Crisp. He's had a really good game 2 weeks ago, and if they give him that midfield time, or even if he is coming off the half back, I'll put Jack Crisp down for 30 touches. I do like to see him go up to half forward, and he can be pretty dangerous kicking inside 50 or having a shot himself. But I think if they play him more half-back midfield, Jack Crisp, I said he'll touch the 30 mark. It might be the last time in his career he gets to that sort of level, but thinking a big one for Crispy this week. And most goals this week for Collingwood.
yeah, the most goals this week. The little fella's going to fire up this week, Elliot William. It's going to be a good even spread, but he's going to kick three. Jamie Elliott. I can just see, like you said, if they can get the ball in quick, or what I'd even do. I think they tried it a couple of times last year. Will they played him and full forward, one out, and they had the two big guys either side leading to different parts of the ground, so they weren't getting each other's way. Although memory does go up the ground a fair bit, so hopefully if he can drag one of the bigger defenders out of the road, and then McStay can go one side and give Elliott a bit of room. I think he's suited to the idiot, so I think Jamie will kick three.
Fair enough. Well, my boy Membry, the one that you just mentioned, dragging a few players up the ground, but he does play Marvel fairly well. Obviously, playing a few games there when he was at the Saints, and I think he was very quiet a couple of weeks ago. And some people think he's lucky to keep his spot, but I think he'll have his day out and hopefully gets a couple of good ones on the lead. And I've put him down for three as well. So. Hopefully, Membry can get the job done there. Well, the Pies get the job done. That's at the end of the day, Fossil. And I think the Pies will win by 23. What about yourself?
Well, I've gone for 15, Will. I think, it'll be a tight tussle. Like you said, like they bring their players in, and they just all have a crack. So I think the big thing will be on how we use the ball. If we use the ball well when we've got the ball, don't turn it over. I think we've got a chance. But if we do, the league speed might be a bit of a problem. And that's why I was a little bit stiff that young Parker went out. He did his job well, and I thought that ground would suit him. Like he's done his job every week. He's not flashy. He just does what he's told to do. But I just think, with a bit more run there, I thought they might have kept him in there. But they know better than the Foss. But that's the way it is. So, yeah, fingers crossed. But I think, 15 points of pies.
Fair enough. We're always picking a close game. We'll have to get a big margin, hopefully, at some point this year. But a couple of messages. So the Colin Connection family have sent through some messages, Fossil. So thank you guys. We appreciate that, and thanks for tuning in. The first one came from TJ's Chompers Fossil. I love the name there. He said,
Yeah,
uh,
beautiful, beautiful.
TJ, I love that. Midday, hey guys, enjoying the channel. How do you rate our young up and coming players? Draft picks aside, who do you think will make it, and who do you think might be cut by season's end? Cheers and go Pies. Fossil and I did have a little chat about this before TJ's Chompers. whatever your name is, but Dematia and Giath, I mean, they're just a couple of players. I know Dematia is injured at the moment, and it just seems like he's really struggled to break into the side and get some consistency. He's played decent footy at VFL level, so obviously a couple of weeks until we see him and Giath. Yeah, played against North Melbourne. I think it was last year, Fossil, and might have been the year before, but yeah, not many games, and you're kind of looking for them to get some consistent form in the VFL and break through. So amongst other players, even some of those draft picks we might see this year in the senior side, but I think they've got to play a bit more VFL time, and we'll see how they are developing, and hopefully they do put their hand up and get a crack. But yeah, it's hard to really judge until I think tomorrow the boys will start off Fossil. So fingers crossed, they can have a decent game and then start putting pressure on the senior fellas.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there. Well, yeah, I think you got to give them 3 or 4 weeks. Like it's only early days, but and the kids are only young, and hopefully they're listening to the guys and getting developed. But there's 3 or 4 there that could be a chance, like you said. But yeah, I think they'll probably need a month of footy, and Western these sort of guys, eventually they'll get their chance. But yeah, I think you give them a month or so, and then once they put their hand up, they're going to start putting pressure on the guys that aren't performing too well in the ones, and then hopefully, after 3 or 4 weeks, they might get their chance, depending how the senior side's going. So, yeah, it's a bit up in the air at the minute, but yeah, we've got some kids there, but eventually they're going to have to give them a crack. But they've got to earn their spots. You just can't be handing their spots. So, hopefully, they can play well in the twos and put their hand up and put pressure on the senior players.
And second one there, Fossil. This one's from Jeff. He said, "Hey lads, thoughts on Jeremy Howe and Moore returning round three? In my opinion, would have waited a little longer, but fingers crossed they get through and a Pies win." Well, I had this as another comment here, Jeff. Anyway, but I am a bit worried about Jeremy Howe holding up, and I didn't like the loss of Parker, as Fossil touched on before. It's a tough call to make, I know, but I don't know what Parker is meant to do, and vice versa. I would have made sure Howe is 110% before returning, maybe even playing a half in the VFL. I guess a run in the legs. McInnes is having a run around tomorrow, so that's great news, and best of luck to him and the VFL boys in that match. But I would have probably got a game, even if it was a Vivo game under his belt before he returns, just to, really push it, because they said that they're going to have limited time, but it depends on how much they're really going to show. And maybe they're thinking 50% game time, but it's not a lot of, it hasn't been a lot of time off in comparison to, yeah, we've seen him struggle for the last, year and a bit now, and these injuries just keep popping up even after 1 or 2 games. So fingers crossed he gets through. But the loss of Parker, I think, is it's really going to hurt Will. He does his job week in, week out, as you said, Foss, and he probably feels a bit stiff. He could have played a half back or even moved up towards the wing to, he seems like a cool head, and he's played on very dangerous small forwards. So I do feel for Parker. If Howard does hold up and do a good job, then well done. But we've got to eventually start looking at these kids, and especially the ones who are doing their job. And Ed Allen as well, he was a bit lackluster, didn't get a lot of the footy against the Crows. So I can understand that. And maybe a game or two back in the VFL will help. But I think Parker's a bit stiff, Fossil.
Yeah, no, no, very stiff. But like you said, with Hal, I thought they might have given him a couple more weeks with him because it is a long season. And if something does happen to him, then we're back to where we started from. I thought they might have given him 2 or 3 weeks rest, but obviously the Medico's no more than us. But like you said, like he's not getting any younger, and he's been breaking down a bit. So yeah, I was a bit surprised. I thought they might have given, like you said, even they give him half a run in the twos or something just to test it out to make sure it's okay. I know we've got 5 on the bench, but that's not the point. Like if he breaks down, you could have somebody like Parker in there playing the full game. Well, it doesn't help at all. So yeah, I was a bit surprised that they played him, but we'll have to wait and see.
We'll wait and see, Fossil, and proof is in the pudding, as they say. So, all right, guys, best of luck to our Mighty Pies tomorrow. And, I thought Fossil was going to mention this, but it is my birthday, Magpies, so I'd love a win on my birthday tomorrow. So, thanks, Fossil.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, William.
Thanks, mate. But the best
Uh,
present, I'm not one for presents, but a Magpies win will put a smile on my face. So, fingers crossed. Pies by 23. Yeah, let's go, Maggies. Get the job done. All right, thanks, Foss, and
yeah,
we'll look forward to the review coming Sunday or Monday. Hopefully a nice review this week.
no worries. Go Pies. See you,
Go
Wood.
Pies. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.